An Entrepreneur Guide to Finding Your Flow. Your Life, Your Legacy. By Roger James Hamilton. Introduction. Reading this book. This book is divided into 3 parts. The first part, Running Your River, explains the time-tested principles of wealth dynamics. Just as the laws of nature give us a technical understanding of what makes a river flow, the rules behind wealth dynamics give us a technical understanding of what makes wealth flow, why some struggle to create a trickle while others have carved a roaring river. The second part, Finding Your Flow, provides an insight into the lives of 38 wealth creators whose rivers flow today. They are organized into the 8 wealth profiles so that you can see just how different each profile is. We document failures as well as successes, underlining the perils of breaking the rules of your game or diverting from your flow. Each story adds another layer to your understanding of wealth creation. Each of the 38 wealth creators have been chosen for the different lessons we can learn from their journey. Each has found their flow. Each has created enormous attraction on their natural path. Their individual net worth ranges from $100 million to $50 billion. Each is living a purpose and leaving a legacy. The third part, Leaving Your Legacy, delves into the mechanics of wealth dynamics. How you can apply the profile distinctions to communicate, contribute, lead, and live more effectively. It breaks down your path into a series of steps that take us on the magical road from path to purpose, from duty to destiny. Tomorrow's future is built on the shoulders of today's wealth creators. In today's economies, there is unprecedented access to the daily global flow of money, talent, and resources. When we take responsibility for mastering how to direct part of this flow, we can direct it towards making a difference. The power of money is the power to give it away, to make a difference. Narayana Murthy.
Part 1. Running Your River. Chapter 1. What is wealth? I have enough money to last me the rest of my life, unless I buy something. Jackie Mason. The Wealth Paradox. Evelyn Adams won the New Jersey lottery not once but twice, in 1985 and 1986. All $5.40 millions of winnings has since evaporated, mostly into Atlantic City slot machines. Relegated to living in a trailer park, Adams said, "I wish I had the chance to do it all over again. I'd be much smarter about it now." William Budd Post won $16.2 million in the Pennsylvania lottery. He invested in a car and restaurant business. Within a year, he found himself $1 million in debt and went on to declare bankruptcy. To make matters worse, his brother was arrested for hiring a hitman to assassinate him so he could claim the winnings for himself. Budd now lives on Social Security saying, "I wish it had never happened. It was a total nightmare." While many of us deny that we would be quite as careless as Evelyn and Budd, why is it that so many of us continue to work so hard, earn so much, and still have so little to show for it? This book is not about making money, as many of us lose the money we make. This book is about creating wealth. If you have not created wealth, any excess cash you have becomes a terribly temporary condition. Why? Because there is peculiar paradox that pops up as the cash rolls in. We call this the wealth paradox. The more money you have, the more opportunities you have to lose it. The wealth paradox. The more money you have, the more opportunities you have to lose it. Losing money is not a problem when you don't have any to lose, but as you find yourself with excess income, many new opportunities open up. It is tempting to spend it or invest it in areas where you have little experience and little idea of the pitfalls ahead. Your confidence exceeds your competence, and the money disappears. So why are we so busy trying to make money when, after we finally get it, we're likely to lose it anyway? Even more frustrating, why is it that when we look at people who we consider wealthy, no matter how much their money or business gets taken away from them, it comes right back again? The story of Donald Trump is legend. Trump built a property empire in the 1980s, largely on deals leveraged with a high level of debt. When the market turned in 1990, he was no longer able to make interest payments, resulting in $3.5 billion in business debt and a further $900 million in personal debt. This means that you and I were around $900 million wealthier than Donald Trump in 1990. However, in the following decade, Trump reversed the situation, and by 2005, he had a net worth of $2.7 billion listed on the Forbes 400 list of the richest Americans. Most of the wealth creators in the following pages have faced challenges where they have lost a substantial amount of money, business, or both, but they bounce back again and again. The wealth paradox separates the temporary nature of money from the permanent nature of wealth. Whatever money you have, it will eventually fall, or rise, back to your level of wealth. This leads us to the definition of wealth. The definition of wealth. As a result of the wealth paradox, we cannot simply equate wealth to money. So, if wealth is not how much money you have, what is it? Definition of wealth. Wealth is not how much money you have. Wealth is what you're left with when you lose all your money. True wealth lies in your power to give and receive at your full potential. Those who grow their wealth are continuously increasing their flow, attracting more and contributing more. Only when you live at your potential can you give at your potential. Growing wealth leads to a greater income and a greater outcome. To use a metaphor, wealth is like a garden. The most inspiring, lovingly nurtured garden gives the most pleasure and attracts the most butterflies. Wealth creators don't build nets to catch butterflies. They grow an inspiring garden.
The net and the garden. Wealth is permanent, like the garden, while money is temporary, like the butterflies. Using the analogy of money being as tricky and transient as butterflies is quite useful. It allows us to draw a clear distinction between the strategies of those who are busy trying to make money compared to those who are building wealth. The net. You want to catch butterflies, so you decide to build a net. Surely, with a net you can catch them more easily. You read books on the subject and you practice skills in butterfly catching. You find that you are making improvements. Your net gets bigger and smarter, and gradually you do catch more butterflies, but there is something wrong. After many years of this strategy, you still need to wake up every day and go out to catch more butterflies. You need to hold on to the butterflies you have caught, or they will fly away just as quickly. The more butterflies you have, the more difficult they are to hold on to. You are constantly in fear that the butterflies will disappear, or that someone with a bigger net will beat you at your own game. When the butterflies disappear, you're left with nothing. Many people have become experts at sales, marketing, management, and customer service, yet they still struggle to make money. We all know of people who have learnt the strategies of successful stock market traders, property investors, and serial entrepreneurs, yet are still left funding their losses. They carefully follow the strategies they learn and then remain baffled as to why they do not attract the same opportunities, resources, and sheer luck as their role models. They are trying to make money without first building wealth. They are trying to chase butterflies with a net. The garden. Successful wealth creators don't worry about building a net. They grow a garden. By focusing on creating an inspiring garden, you are growing something permanent around you. As the garden grows, the butterflies come. As time goes by, the effort required to manage the garden falls as the number of butterflies rises. In fact, the butterflies, birds, and bees end up pollinating your garden for you. You don't fear butterflies leaving, as there are always more coming. If anyone takes your butterflies, there will be more the next day. Every successful wealth creator is focused entirely on building their wealth foundation rather than their money-making activities. They build a reputation, a powerful network, a knowledge base, a resource base, and a track record. This is their garden, and it is built not around their expertise, but around their passion, their path, and their purpose. Every day, they wake up to their garden, not to an empty net. In a recent speech to a group of students, Warren Buffett said, "I may have more money than you, but money doesn't make the difference. If there is any difference between you and me, it may simply be that I get up and have a chance to do what I love to do, every day. If you learn anything from me, this is the best advice I can give you. attracting more by moving less. Warren Buffett attracts billion-dollar butterflies. He does it by letting people know that his investment company, Berkshire Hathaway, is interested in businesses between $5 billion and $20 billion in size, with consistent earning power, good return on equity, little debt, and good management. He promises confidentiality and quick response from himself and his vice chairman, Charlie Munger. Consequently, he has described his acquisition strategy like this. It's very scientific. Charlie and I just sit around and wait for the phone to ring. Sometimes it's a wrong number. Each wealth creator has stopped chasing opportunities and chosen to build a wealth foundation around their specific passions and talents. As the American industrialist Andrew Carnegie said, "The men who have succeeded are the men who have chosen one line and stuck to it." This does not mean sticking to a particular profession, industry, or even country. It does mean sticking to your wealth profile. Warren Buffett attracts the deals that suit Berkshire Hathaway. Richard Branson attracts the businesses that suit Virgin and Jack Welch, while CEO of General Electric attracted the right people to join his leadership team. Each different wealth profile has different values that result in different attractions. They are tending to different gardens. Welch used a similar metaphor when talking about his role at GE. "My main job was developing talent. I was a gardener providing water and other nourishment to our top 750 people. Of course, I had to pull out some weeds too."
The river of wealth. Be still like a mountain and flow like a great river. Lao Tse. Does the garden metaphor resonate with you? Are you busy chasing butterflies with a net, or are you growing a garden? The garden is the first step. Here is the second. You can water your garden with a bucket, or you can water it with a permanent river. We can all relate to the idea of growing a garden, but running our own river. Every great wealth creator has created their own river. When we grow our river, we grow our flow. As we grow our flow, we grow our attraction. At first glance, the two metaphors are similar. As with the butterflies, the water in the river is temporary. As with the garden, the river is permanent. There are, however, four important additions. 1. Water. Water, like money, flows. Money is already flowing around this planet at an unprecedented rate. Great wealth creators have achieved their wealth not by making money, but by creating flow. They have learned how to redirect some of this money flow through themselves and their enterprises. Wealth, then, is largely about good plumbing. There are rules to this plumbing, and the structure of wealth dynamics is based on these rules. 2. Flow. Flow is about more than cash flow. It is about life flow. Each of us creates our greatest wealth when we are in our own personal flow. Those of us who build a river around this flow attract all the resources, people, and opportunities in the same way that a leaf thrown in a river will naturally be attracted to the central current. When we are creating the right river, it feels right for us. When you find your flow, you begin to love life and live life fully. 3. Path. There are different paths to running a river, and we each have a natural path of least resistance. Wealth Dynamics classifies these paths into 8 profiles. Each is a different game with different players and different rules. Until you follow your natural path, life feels like a struggle, and you will find little attraction. Many of us are operating at a fraction of our true potential. Focus on your natural path and life soon changes from hard to get to easy to give. 4. Purpose. In a river, flow assumes exit as well as entry. Giving more opens the way to receiving more. With flow, a bigger income goes hand in hand with a bigger outcome. In the limited time we have on this planet, we choose our power to create and our power to contribute. When you live in your flow, you maximize this power. You attract the resources to leave a lasting legacy. Your path leads to your purpose. He said, she said. When we look at the wealth creators carving the biggest rivers, it doesn't take us long to notice that they appear to be taking entirely different approaches. Bill Gates, founder of Microsoft, is the wealthiest man in the world with a staff of close to 60,000. Warren Buffett, chairman of Berkshire Hathaway, is the second wealthiest man with a team of 14. Richard Branson, founder of the Virgin Group, has become one of the UK's best-known entrepreneurs with over 200 companies and 2 books. J.K. Rowling, author of the Harry Potter series, has made a fortune in the last 8 years with 6 books and 1 company. Their advice differs as much as their paths. Meg Whitman, CEO of eBay and one of the wealthiest women in America, advocates always adapting to the customer's needs, while Henry Ford, who took his Model T car to a phenomenal 48% market share, famously said, "The customer can have a car of any color he wants, so long as it's black." Warren Buffett insists on a detailed understanding of any company he invests in, saying risk comes from not knowing what you are doing, whereas Ray Kroc, who built McDonald's so successfully, said, "If you're not a risk taker, you should get the hell out of business." Who do we listen to and whose principles should we follow? Should we be accessible at all times like Donald Trump, or should we play hard to get like Tiger Woods? Should we venture into new countries like Branson, or simply trade their currencies like George Soros and save the airfare? Making sense of the many approaches to wealth creation can be compared to making sense of the different games on ESPN. Each has different rules, different teams, and different strategies. Only by understanding the games can we listen to the soccer players say, "Kick the ball, don't pick it up," and the basketball players say, "Pick up the ball, don't kick it," and realize that they aren't contradicting each other. They are simply playing different games. Success comes from knowing which game to play, and then playing that game, and only that game. Each of us has a game that is most suited to our own natural habits and talents. So how do we find out which game to play? Wealth Dynamics takes the entire world of confusing, contradictory and convoluted information on wealth creation and puts it into a coherent and comprehensive system. It gives each of us clarity on our personal path of least resistance to wealth creation, what our strategy should be, who we need in our team, how we should apply ourselves, when we should take action, and more importantly, when we should not. This book, then, is more than a collection of stories or an explanation of some new wealth creation theory. It is a journey into the universal flow of wealth that we are all a part of and leads towards fresh insight into the true meaning of entrepreneurial spirit. Action item: take the profile test now and discover which game you are best suited to. www.wdprofiles.com, then return to this book. You will find the information contained within these pages will take on an entirely new depth.
Chapter 2. Are you feeling lucky? Everything in life is luck. Donald Trump. Getting lucky. You will find it very easy, when reading the stories of the billionaires and multimillionaires in this book, to say they were lucky. The reason it's easy to say is because it's true. The key to wealth is luck. Luck is the phenomena that Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung termed synchronicity. Luck is intimately related to flow. As your flow grows, your luck grows. As your luck grows, your flow grows. Wealth creators know how to grow their own luck. Sam Walton, founder of Walmart, was the richest man in the world in the 1980s, and his family remains the richest family in the world today. Sam fell into retailing at the age of 21 because his family's neighbor happened to be a retailer with 60 variety stores. Hugh Mattingly became one of Walton's first mentors, showing him the trade and offering him a job. So, did Walton have a plan for wealth? I don't know about that kind of stuff. But I know this for sure: I loved retail from the very beginning, and I love it today. So, did the success formula of a Walmart in every town happen by chance? No, it was by necessity. As Walton was getting ready to start his first store, his wife Helen said, "I'll go with you any place you want so long as you don't ask me to live in a big city. 10,000 people are enough for me." Everything existing in the universe is the fruit of chance and necessity. Democritus, 460 BC. A friend of Walton's, Tom Bates, worked for a retail franchisor, Butler Brothers. So Walton asked Tom what he'd have that suited a small town, and at the age of 27 got started with a Butler Brothers franchise in Newport, Arkansas. By chance it was right across the street from a very successful competitor, John Dunham. It was a real blessing for me to be so green and ignorant, because it was from that experience that I learned a lesson which has stuck with me all through the years: you can learn from everybody. I didn't just learn from reading every retail publication I could get my hands on, I probably learned the most from studying what John Dunham was doing across the street. Then came the billion-dollar piece of bad luck, not because it cost $1 billion, but because it led to $1 billion. In all my excitement at becoming Sam Walton, merchant, I had neglected to include a clause in my lease which gave me an option to renew after the first 5 years. Seeing the success of the store, the landlord chose not to renew the lease and forced the sale of the outlet from Walton to his own son. With no other viable location in Newport, Walton loaded his family and belongings into a truck and started driving. They didn't stop until they came to a small town, Bentonville, population 3,000. There, at the age of 32, he started Walton's Five and Dime store. 12 years later, also in Bentonville, the first Walmart opened. Today Bentonville is the headquarters of Walmart's $220 billion global empire. When Sam Walton died, he was the richest man in the world. I run on the road, long before I dance under the lights. Muhammad Ali. 3 years ago, Steve Jobs, founder of Apple, was busy developing the iMac into a multimedia editing device. Jeff Robin, a 28-year-old developer who had left Apple months before Jobs' return, had started a company to develop Sound Jam, a jukebox program. Jobs bought the company as Robin had impressed the team at Apple, and over the next year Jobs asked him to develop a jukebox for the Mac, which he did, naming it iTunes. Jobs thought, if photo files can be portable in your camera, why can't music files be portable too? So next he asked Robin if he could come up with a portable music player, and 9 months later the iPod was launched. But it was only after the team was playing with the iPod prototypes that they came up with the idea of the Apple iTunes online music store. Less than 18 months after the rollout of the iPod, the online store opened in April 2003. They hoped to sell 1 million songs in the first 6 months and ended up selling that many in the first 6 days. The online music store was the critical bridge that opened up the entire PC user market in a way that software alone had never managed to do for Apple. By the end of 2005, Apple had a 62% share of the online music market. Apple's iPod business alone is predicted to hit $6.2 billion in 2006, around what Apple's entire revenue was when Jobs took over. Did Apple's share price triple in 2005 as a result of a plan, or as a result of sheer luck? Steve Jobs has now made $1 billion by being lucky on 3 separate occasions. All 3 happened by luck, but none happened by accident. Great entrepreneurs do not create success. They create the conditions for success to occur. Wealth creators are luck creators. How to create luck? Give luck a chance to happen. Tom Kite. US golfer. Once you begin following your path, luck happens as a result of the flow you grow. Here's a simple way to build that foundation, to build your luck. The foundation of luck is built on 4 conditions. Location, understanding, connections, knowledge. Think of a game of football. Think of David Beckham. Now, he's lucky. The 30-year-old English footballer earns over $80,000 per week kicking a ball and, together with his wife, Victoria, has a net worth of close to $100 million. So, what is it that makes a footballer lucky? As we watch the game, there's an opening and Beckham scores. We think that was lucky. Out of all the spots on the pitch, he was exactly at the right place at the right time. Location. Who chooses where you place yourself each day? We each have an opportunity to be at the right place, at the right time. Many of us are so busy going to work every day, we're always at the wrong place, wrong time. Luck starts with choosing to be at the right place, right time. Understanding. At the critical moment, when the ball is in front of the goal, we may find ourselves at the right place, right time, but we have no understanding of the reason we are there, to kick the ball. Many of us are still spectators, watching the game. By the time we notice the ball, it's too late to kick. The players know the reason they are there is to kick the ball, so have already anticipated it, positioned themselves, and kicked it. Luck comes from playing the game, not watching it. Connections. Many of us have positioned ourselves in front of the goal and understand we're there to kick the ball. We've started our business, our investments, but there's no ball coming. We wait, and the years tick by. Still, there's no ball coming. If this happens to you, try looking around to see if there's anyone else on the pitch. Many of us have not invested in our connections, the players who should be kicking us the ball. There's no one on the pitch. Great wealth creators have million-dollar balls being kicked to them every day as a result of the connections they have built. Connections, by the way, are not the same as a network. Many of us have big networks, but networks are full of spectators, not players playing our game. So, there are still no opportunities coming our way. Knowledge. There's no point having balls coming your way if you don't know how to kick them. There's no point having opportunities coming your way if you don't know what to do with them. Knowing how to kick the ball comes with playing the game. The more you play, the more you know. Which is why, the sooner you choose your game, and play it, the sooner your luck begins to flow. To know and not to do is not yet to know. Zen saying we build these 4 conditions not by investing our money, but by investing our time. Some of us have been too busy going to work each day to have invested any time in building our luck, and we are no luckier today than we were 5 years ago. As you read the lucky stories in this book, consider how each wealth creator invests their time and becomes luckier and luckier as a result. Wealth isn't about how much money you have. It's what you have left when you lose all your money. When you've kicked the ball, the luck remains, and another ball will be along in a moment.
7 Phenomena of Flow. As we play our natural game and attract others who are playing the same game, we come across 7 phenomena which accelerate us. Each of us has experienced one or more of these at times when we were in the flow. When you sustain this flow, these 7 phenomena become magnified. In the coming chapters, we look at the different games each of the 8 different wealth profiles play. As they each follow their natural path, they come across these same 7 phenomena, accelerating their flow. Critical moments. These are the moments when the game is won or lost. How you recognize these moments and react in these fractions of time will define your life. Learning cycles. Each game is in itself a learning cycle. The number of times you play and your cumulative learning will define your performance in future critical moments. Failing forward. There are 2 types of failure. One gives you the learning, the other ends the game. Knowing how to differentiate between the 2 allows you to continue to play. Opportunities. There are 2 types of opportunities. One you create, one you attract. Knowing how to pass on one and how to attract the other is key to the level at which you play. The strength of certainty. Our success in life has more to do with what we say no to than what we say yes to. Being certain of the game you play escalates your attraction. The power of perseverance. Continuing to play the same game, through good times and bad times, gives a level of confidence to others to play with you. We fail when we quit. The magic of momentum. Winning teams win and lose on momentum. Momentum comes from an ongoing combination of the previous 6. Momentum is the ultimate attractor. Phenomenon number 1. Critical moments. I never get the accountants in before I start up a business. It's done on gut feeling. Richard Branson. In many sports, the game may last 60 minutes, 90 minutes, or more. But the game is won or lost in a number of critical moments that usually amount to less than 5 minutes of the game. No matter how well you play for the rest of the time, it counts for little if you fumble during those defining moments. So too, in life we can count the critical moments when a shift in action or reaction would have entirely changed our outcome. In 1980, IBM had what Andy Grove, the founder of Intel, calls a strategic inflection point when all the rules changed. Apple had started the PC revolution, and IBM had no PC. An IBM group launched Project Chess, a revolutionary outsourcing initiative that would cobble together the pieces from third-party suppliers to create an IBM PC. To source an operating system, a member of the team contacted Bill Gates, a young 25-year-old software programmer he had heard of. Gates didn't have any operating system to speak of, and so referred IBM onto Gary Kildall, the founder of Digital Research. But when IBM got no response from him, they came back to Gates. This was a classic critical moment typical of those that all entrepreneurs come across. How Gates handled that call to find his future. He agreed to find them a solution and then visited Tim Patterson from Seattle Computer Products, who had just created an operating system called QDOS, Quick and Dirty Operating System. Gates bought it for $56,000, immediately repackaged it as PC-DOS for IBM, and then repackaged it again as MS-DOS, employing Patterson to modify it, and marketed it to the other emerging PC manufacturers, setting the future foundation and fortune for Microsoft. At critical moments, it is our instincts that count most. It is not intellectual learning that creates mastery, but physical learning from practice. You cannot master touchdowns by reading books on football. It is financial fitness by mastering the game, not financial literacy by mastering the rules, that defines our success. Otherwise, the best footballers would be the referees. As Warren Buffett said, if past history was all there was to the game, the richest people would be librarians. When you play the same game again and again, you begin to anticipate and master the critical moments, which reoccur in different forms. You begin to look forward to increasing the number of critical moments and to testing your mastery. When we are not following our path, it feels like hard work. Not only do we miss critical moments, they seem few and far between. That's the clue that tells you to change path. If it feels like hard work, you're already doing the wrong thing. When we follow our path, the game comes naturally. The longer we play the game, the better we master it. The better we master it, the more we multiply our critical moments, in the same way that sports people in the flow suddenly find multiple scoring opportunities. In the words of Donald Trump, money was never a big motivation for me, except as a way to keep score. The real excitement is playing the game.
Phenomenon number 2. Learning cycles. Experience isn't interesting till it begins to repeat itself. In fact, till it does that, it hardly is experience. Elizabeth Bowen. When I was studying architecture at Cambridge at the age of 19, I had the chance to meet one of the most successful architects in the world today. Something had been troubling me about my future architectural career, and I asked him a question. Why is it that all the most successful architects only appear to become successful in their 60s? He responded, all mastery comes from learning cycles. Starting it, trying it, completing it, learning from it, and then repeating the cycle. In architecture, a learning cycle can take 5 to 7 years. So by the time you've gone through enough cycles to begin mastering it, you're already in your 60s. But I want to be successful faster, I said. How can I do that? Simple, he replied. Don't be an architect. I left architecture and started my first business, a publishing business, figuring that with a monthly publication I could have 12 learning cycles in my first year. As you keep playing the same game, your learning cycles build on each other in a way that they cannot if you keep switching games. As you increase your cycles, you increase your insight into the game. Phenomenon number 3. Failing forward. Success is the ability to go from one failure to another with no loss of enthusiasm. Winston Churchill. Multiplying critical moments and learning cycles is a scary thought for many of us. While we know that failure is a necessary step on the path to success, it still sounds painful. Great entrepreneurs get over this by differentiating between 2 different types of failure. Failure that steers us versus failure that sinks us. Let's compare physical strength to financial strength for a moment. If you want to build your muscles, you go to the gym and exercise with weights that literally push your muscles to failure. You rest, recover, and gradually find your muscles strengthening. This is what we mean by failure that steers and strengthens you. On the other hand, you might go into the gym and see someone lifting an 80-kilogram weight. Confident that you can do the same, you jump into position, attempt to lift the weight, and experience a failure that sinks you. Worse still, you might give yourself a physical injury that puts you out of action for a month. Similarly, while some of us invest the appropriate time or money into multiple failures that steer us to greater financial learning, others step up to the plate with little training and put our life savings in one venture. We lose money we could not afford to lose and experience a failure that sinks us. We give ourselves a financial injury that puts us out of action for years. Successful wealth creators separate failures that can sink them from failures that steer them. Great entrepreneurs maximize the failures that steer them and avoid the failures that can sink them. As they play their game, failure becomes a calculated cost of learning, with the entrepreneur always remaining in the game. In Warren Buffett's words, "I don't look to jump over 7-foot bars. I look around for 1-foot bars that I can step over."
Phenomenon number 4. Opportunities. Business opportunities are like buses. There's always another one coming. Richard Branson. As with failure, opportunities also come in 2 forms, and we are often focused on the wrong one. Outbound opportunities are the ones that we come up with ourselves, a new idea, a new business concept, a venture to try. Many of us think this is where our wealth lies, which is why we never get started. Inbound opportunities are the ones that get passed to us by others. Without exception, each wealth creator in this book created the most wealth through inbound opportunities. And as they followed their path, they attracted inbound opportunities of a higher and higher quality. Richard Branson has been a master at attracting inbound opportunities. When they arrive, he checks whether kicking the ball will result in a failure that will steer him or a failure that sink him. He finds out how much he might lose if it all goes wrong, and, if he decides to kick the ball, he ring-fences the new enterprise with its own structure, team, and financing. In 1984, as Branson was busy with Virgin Music, Randolph Fields, a U.S. lawyer, approached him to finance an airline for the transatlantic route that had opened after Sir Freddie Laker's airline had collapsed in 1982. This was an inbound opportunity out of the blue. Branson did his numbers and decided, if I could lease the plane for 1 year and then have the chance to return the plane, I would have a clear escape route if it all failed. If I can limit everything to 1 year, the employment contracts, the leasing of the aircraft, the exchange exposure, and everything else that starting up a New York route involves, then I want to have a shot at it. On the weekend, as he mulled over the proposal, he cold-called People Express, the airline already running an Atlantic budget route, to see how they were doing. He cold-called Freddie Laker for advice on the idea. Branson's approach to finding a plane to lease was equally straightforward. On Monday morning, I called up International Directory Inquiries and asked for the number of Boeing. They were bemused to hear an Englishman asking what kinds of deals were available on a jumbo. Branson went on to take the opportunity, setting up Virgin Atlantic as a separate company. Virgin Atlantic took off, and 10 years later Branson went on to sell Virgin Music in order to grow his airline business further. We are often so busy holding on to our precious outbound opportunities, the inbound opportunities pass us by, ending up in the hands of those who are more receptive. Advice, again, from Warren Buffett: you do things when the opportunities come along. I've had periods in my life when I've had a bundle of ideas come along, and I've had long dry spells. If I get an idea next week, I'll do something. If not, I won't do a damn thing. Phenomenon number 5. The strength of certainty. It's as important to figure out what you're not going to do as it is to know what you are going to do. Michael Dell. Our success in life has more to do with what we say no to than what we say yes to. Many of us are saying yes to all the right things, but we're saying yes to all the wrong things as well. Being clear on the game we play gives us the chance to say no to everything else. It allows us to stop pursuing multiple streams of income and focus on one big river. Oprah does not come back from a day meeting celebrities and get online for a spot of options trading. Bill Gates does not come back from a day inventing at Microsoft and try his hand at network marketing. There is a reason why there are so few sports people who have reached world-class level at more than one sport. Our greatest asset is our time. When we try to split our time between 2 games, we cannot master either to the same degree as someone just focused on one. Most importantly, it is only when others know what you stand for that you will attract the reputation and resources to support you on your path. If you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. Les Brown.
Phenomenon number 6. The power of perseverance. You can never quit. Winners never quit and quitters never win. Ted Turner. Once you are on the right path, the most essential quality to possess is neither intelligence nor talent, but perseverance. One thing you'll notice about every one of the stories in this book is that each wealth creator is still playing the game. At one of my seminars, I met an enthusiastic graduate from one of the many entrepreneurship MBA programs currently on offer. As if by way of introduction, he asked, "What's your exit strategy?" "What?" I replied. "What's your exit strategy? What's your plan?" I asked him if he could name any famous billionaire who had made all his wealth by setting a plan with an exit strategy, executing the plan, and then exiting. He couldn't. I'm not saying exit strategies are not useful. The first thing you're told when you get on a plane is where the exits are. But exit strategies are for the passengers, not for the pilots. The last thing you want to hear when you get on a plane is that the pilot will be bailing out at 30,000 feet. The last thing you want to hear if you're investing in Berkshire Hathaway is that Warren will be bailing out once the stock price hits $95,000. It's not a coincidence that all the world's wealthiest entrepreneurs continue to work long after they need to. They don't see it as work, so there's nothing to retire from. If retiring means giving up work to do what you enjoy, Warren Buffett retired the moment he started investing. Pilots don't quit, they're too busy having fun flying. Steve Case, co-founder of AOL, explains a critical key to his success like this: if you really believe what you're doing is right, and you believe it's important, and you truly feel that you are a pioneer who is making a difference, you may make some mistakes, but your energy and commitment will help you overcome them. That perseverance is important because there are times when the so-called smart thing may be to throw up your hands and quit because it's hard, or you've hit a brick wall. But you have to think, well, we're just going to keep at it. That's critical. Why does Bill Gates keep going to work every day? I have the most fun job in the world, and love coming to work each day because there are always new challenges, new opportunities, and new things to learn. If you enjoy your job this much, you will never burn out. Where does Richard Branson keep finding the energy to keep playing the game? If it is no longer fun, he moves on. I never went into business to make money, but I found out that, if I have fun, the money will come. If something stops being fun, I ask why. If I can't fix it, I stop doing it. Perseverance comes from passion and purpose. When you play your natural game, you won't quit. You'll be too busy having fun playing. Sustained attraction occurs when those with the resources to support you know that you won't quit. If they suspect that you will, their resources will flow elsewhere and your river will run dry. Phenomenon number 7. The magic of momentum. When you're that successful, things have a momentum, and at a certain point you can't really tell whether you have created the momentum or it's creating you. Annie Lennox. Every winning sports team knows the power of momentum. When the momentum swings from one team to the other, the scores soon change. Momentum is group flow. When we are living with momentum, small obstacles disappear. Decisions are made with certainty. No one wants to miss the boat, and attraction appears all around us. In his book, The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, John Maxwell got it right when he wrote, "Momentum is really a leader's best friend." Sometimes it's the only difference between winning and losing. When I asked Maxwell what distinguishes a manager from a leader, he replied, "A manager solves problems. A leader creates momentum. When you have momentum, the problems soon solve themselves." The wealth of every great entrepreneur comes quickly when their personal flow resonates with the flow of the market. Momentum comes from sustained flow in the same way that a bonfire grows from a sustained flame. When we experience sustained flow, the momentum that we create between ourselves, our team, our partners, our customers and the market, takes on a life of its own and sweeps us along. Wealth doesn't only come faster, it comes far easier.
Chapter 3. The Wealth Equation. Try not to become a man of success, but rather try to become a man of value. Albert Einstein. Rules of the River. If every great wealth creator has carved a river, how did they all get started? What are the rules they follow? Wealth creation is based on an equation of value and leverage. One determines the gradient of the river and increases the speed of flow. The other determines the width of the river and increases the volume of flow. Both value and leverage have opposite polarities. Understanding the equation and focusing on your polarity is an essential step to running your river. Sculpting the river. When I was 27 years old, I had the chance to work with the team that had taken Dell Computers International. In 1987, a 22-year-old Michael Dell opened a Dell office in England. Andrew Harris headed the international operation and brought in a good friend, Martin Slagter, to run the UK and European operations. By 1992, Dell's sales had grown to $2 billion, from $60 million 6 years earlier. However, 1992 proved a critical year for the company. A series of crises led to the company posting its first quarterly loss. Dell brought in new management and both Harris and Slagter left the company in 1993. They left with stock options that they cashed in, making them both multimillionaires. They used their cash to start an exciting new venture in the UK and US, Hand Technologies. Hand Tech was at the cutting edge when I joined it in 1995. They were leveraging on something new, the internet, to sell computers with the aid of a network of agents, who tended to be the techies that people in each community would already be going to for advice on what PC to buy. Through Harris and Slagter's industry contacts, they had deals with Microsoft, Compaq, HP and Apple to sell their PCs online long before these giants were doing so themselves. I became the general manager for the UK and we quickly grew to employ over 1,000 reps in the first year. The team was intent on learning from the management mistakes that they had seen Dell make. We assembled a seasoned board of advisors, invested in cutting-edge systems, implemented tight financial controls. But somehow there seemed to be something missing. While we were leveraging like crazy on our vendors, our reps, the internet, and appeared to be clocking some impressive growth, we did not have the kind of attraction that Dell had. After the first 12 months it seemed we still had to work just as hard to sell the next PC or recruit the next rep, even though we were over 10 times bigger, and we were still a long way from making any money. Slagter and I began to focus at our core value proposition. Why weren't customers beating a path to our door? Our vendor margins and rep commissions didn't let us sell at Dell's prices. The service we promised from our reps we couldn't control. The reliability from our vendors, despite them being brand names, we couldn't guarantee. Meanwhile Harris, based in Austin, kept focused on greater leverage, saying, "The profits will come when we reach critical mass. The critical mass will come once we've built our brand." From 1995 to 1997, with money from 2 successful rounds of funding fueling our growth, we grew to over 10,000 reps selling from the Hand Technologies website. But the cost of acquiring each new rep and each new sale seemed to be going up, not down. Meanwhile, Dell, even with its ongoing management and production problems, had grown from $2.9 million in sales in 1993 to an astounding $12.3 billion in 1997, and it had been profitable in every quarter. Whilst we could dismiss a phenomenon whereby lottery winners were losing their fortunes and put it down to carelessness, here was a far more baffling situation. From all accounts, Dell was continuing to have management and production issues, while we seemed to have a well-functioning team. Yet Dell continued to grow and attract new business at a phenomenal rate, and we had to fight for every penny. Why is it that we all know of some businesses that seem to be run so well, with great management, nice systems, happy customers, and yet they still lose money? Why is it that we also know of businesses that seem to have one issue after another, yet more customers and more money keep flowing through the door at a dizzying rate? In early 1997 we held a strategic meeting in Austin, which is also home to Dell's headquarters. Slagter returned from a visit to the local dry cleaners visibly distressed. He had met a Dell staff member who he had hired years earlier who had told him what his current stock options in Dell were worth. Slagter did his sums on the trip back to the office, saying, "If I had sat on a beach with my Dell stock options instead of starting hand tech, I'd be 20 times richer today." To rub salt in the wound, Dell had finally discovered the internet months earlier, allowing customers to configure and buy their custom-made PC online. Sales quickly grew to $1 million a day, eclipsing the results we were achieving. While we were still struggling to fill our muddy pond with buckets of water, Dell had come by and with one simple gesture carved $1 million a day of extra width into his wild, raging river. I left the company in 1997 and traveled to Asia to start my next venture, and hand went the way of so many dot-coms, succumbing to the wealth paradox and closing shop in 2000, out of cash and out of luck. Meanwhile, Michael Dell has gone on to weather all manner of setbacks, many far larger than the ones we faced, and ended up fourth on the 2005 Forbes 400 with a net worth of $18 billion and a company which is now the world's largest PC manufacturer. What set the two approaches apart? While we were busy focusing on the hundreds of tasks in our business, Michael Dell kept focused on one: perfecting his direct model. The value of his low price, fast delivery, and reliable service model attracted an ever-increasing flow of customers and cash that gave him the resources to get things right in all other areas of his business, in good times and bad. Our plan, team, systems, and financing counted for nothing if none of us were focused on playing the game of creating value and leveraging. During those painful years, while Dell was busy playing his game, we never even found the pitch. Every successful wealth creator has kept focus on playing their game, focusing on creating value, and then leveraging. This is what creates the money flow. This is the wealth equation.
The wealth equation. Wealth creation is not about making money. It is about creating flow. The wealth equation explains the plumbing. Wealth equals value times leverage. Money flow follows the same principles as water flow in a river. The two variables of the river that will determine the water flow at any particular section are the height and the width, or more accurately the area of its cross-section, width x depth. Similarly, the two comparable variables that make up wealth and that will determine your money flow are value and leverage. Here's why. Value. Water will always flow from high ground to low ground and always in that direction. The height differential will determine the speed of water flow at any one time. If you double the height of the river, you double the speed of water flow. Similarly, money will always flow where there is a value differential and always from high value to low value. Imagine I decide to sell my watch for $1,000. That means I don't value it as much as $1,000. You decide to buy it for $1,000. That means you value it more than the money. As a result, your money flows from you to me. You get my watch and I get your money. If a buyer and seller chose a watch of double the value, then $2,000 would have flowed. Double the value and you double the money flow. Leverage. Value on its own does not make the river. A river also needs width. In the 1980s, Bill Gates did not have the most valuable software, but he was better at leveraging it. While Steve Jobs at Apple was coming up with innovation after innovation in his software, Apple introduced the mouse and graphic user interface before Microsoft switched from MS-DOS to Windows. Gates was encouraging the growth of the entire PC market to distribute his software. While Jobs insisted that Apple software could only be used on Apple computers, Gates positioned Microsoft as a software company serving all PCs with a common operating system and software platform. As a result, the entire PC industry grew by leveraging on his products, and he could focus all his efforts on developing his software, while Jobs was diluting his efforts by trying to develop and own the software, the hardware, and the distribution channel simultaneously. Where value gives the river a gradient, leverage gives the river width. Where value determines the speed of money flow, leverage determines the volume of flow at that speed. In the 1980s, while Jobs was trying to create an Angel Falls, Gates had carved a Mississippi. By 1985, Jobs had lost his place at Apple, ejected from the company he started by his own board members. Apple's market share plummeted in the following years from over 50% to 5%. Gates, in 1986, took Microsoft public, giving him an instant $236 million fortune. Jobs made a comeback when he changed his leverage strategy, building a billion-dollar fortune in the following 30 years. The polarities of value. While value creation is a prerequisite to money flow, there are two opposite polarities to value creation: innovation and timing. These are related to the two opposite thinking dynamics: intuitive thinking and sensory thinking. Every successful wealth creator taps into their natural dynamic. If you do not follow your natural dynamic, wealth creation will feel like hard work. And if it feels like hard work, you are already doing the wrong thing. Innovation. All value is created from the way we think. Some of us are born with high-frequency thinking, which is called intuitive thinking. Intuitive thinkers love coming up with new ideas and putting them into action. Bill Gates, Michael Dell, and Walt Disney have all mentioned their natural creativity when they were younger. We all have some element of intuitive thinking, but some of us have it more than others. Those who are constantly tapping into this high-frequency thinking are often described as having their head in the clouds. They can see the big picture, but often miss the detail. They are not as focused on what is there, but on what could be. They create value through one of the two opposites of value creation: innovation. Intuitive thinking creates value through innovation. Innovation means creating something new of value, something bigger, faster, cheaper, smaller, smarter, better. Wealth creators such as Steve Jobs, Ray Kroc, Richard Branson, and Oprah Winfrey create their value through innovation. Their innovation has been focused on creating new products, new systems, new businesses, or a unique brand. In every case, for each of the wealth creators above, the time invested in this one activity has been their number one priority from the beginning. In every case, each one of these individuals has delegated other aspects of their business so that they can focus as much time as possible on their natural way of creating value and leveraging it.
Timing. On the other hand, while Bill Gates has amassed a $51 billion fortune innovating at the cutting edge, Warren Buffett has grown a $40 billion fortune without creating anything high-tech at all. The opposite of high-frequency, intuitive thinking is low-frequency, sensory thinking. While intuitive thinkers create value by having their head in the clouds, sensory thinkers create value by having their ear to the ground. Sensory thinkers do not need to create anything new because they have an innate sense of timing. Why create anything if you know when to buy low and sell high? Warren Buffett, George Soros, and Rupert Murdoch are all individuals who are known for seeking out patterns and opportunities that others miss. Some of us have a more natural tendency towards sensory thinking than intuitive thinking. Sensory thinkers are alert to their surroundings and pick up signals that intuitive thinkers miss. Whereas intuitive thinkers always feel the need to push forward, sensory thinkers know that sometimes the best thing to do is to do nothing. They create value through the other opposite of value creation, timing. Sensory thinking creates value through timing. Timing means creating value by acting at the right time. Wealth creators such as Benjamin Graham, Peter Lynch, and Donald Trump have created value through their investments, trading and deal-making rather than by creating anything new. Some people believe that creativity and timing can be taught. There is no doubt that you can work at improving both, but if it is not your natural frequency to begin with, in the heat of the moment you will fall back on your old habits. I have met many people who have used their natural creativity and optimism to build successful businesses only to then trade these earnings, unsuccessfully, on the stock market. That same creativity and optimism had led to awful timing, and they lost much, if not all, of the money they had reinvested. Some even acquired sophisticated systems to support their trades. Ultimately, successful trading does not come from a system, but from good timing, which is not so easily bought. When asked about his trading style, George Soros, the world's most consistently successful trader with a net worth of over $7 billion, said, "My peculiarity is that I don't have a particular style of investing, or, more exactly, that I try to change my style to fit the conditions. I think my analytical abilities are rather deficient. I am not a professional security analyst. I would rather call myself an insecurity analyst." As we will see, Some of the wealth creators above, such as George Soros and Warren Buffett, are so clear on their own focus that they have stuck to their focus even in the face of public criticism. Others, such as Steve Jobs and Martha Stewart, have deviated from their core focus and paid the price, until they got back on track. The opposites of leverage. Some people think that leverage alone can create wealth. Leverage other people's money, time, expertise, or knowledge, and wealth can be yours. This could not be further from the truth. Leverage has the power to massively accelerate the money you make and the money you lose. Leverage itself simply ensures a multiple output for every input, positive or negative. If you have hired a team and then failed to find the value in their time, you will have ended up worse off than when you started. If you have raised money through financing and then failed to extract the value in that money, then you will have ended up in trouble. There is only one thing that you can leverage to create wealth, and that is value. Ensuring you find value before you leverage and then being careful to leverage that value is essential. How successful wealth creators do this is explained in the following chapters. In the same way that there are two opposites of value, there are also two opposites of leverage, multiply and magnify, which are related to the two opposite action dynamics, introvert and extrovert. Here's how they work. Multiply. People who have a more introvert action dynamic naturally internalize and analyze their course of action, in comparison to people who have a more extrovert action dynamic and work through consultation with others. Introverts are process-oriented and leverage by multiplying. Introverts leverage by multiplying. The way to multiply is to ask the question, how can this happen without me? Multiplying is about making things as simple as possible and then making lots of them. Wealth creators such as Henry Ford, Warren Buffett, John D. Rockefeller and Ray Kroc have leveraged through multiplying, whether through their systems, their investments, or their franchises. Introverts will always keep things simple while extroverts tend to make things appear more complicated. In his 1989 letter to shareholders, Warren Buffett said, "After 25 years of buying and supervising a great variety of businesses, Charlie and I have not learned how to solve difficult business problems. What we have learned is how to avoid them." Magnify. People who have a more extrovert action dynamic, on the other hand, are more likely to be found socializing than studying a spreadsheet. In fact, many extroverts have gotten themselves in trouble when, having created a successful business out front, they have tried to get in the back office to systematize it. Extroverts are not process-oriented. They are people-oriented, and they leverage in a manner that is the complete opposite of multiplying. They leverage by magnifying. Extroverts leverage by magnifying. Rather than asking, how can this happen without me, the way to magnify is to ask the question, how can this only happen with me? Magnifying is about making things as complex or unique as possible so that you become indispensable. Wealth creators such as Martha Stewart, Oprah Winfrey, Jack Welch, and Donald Trump leverage by magnifying, whether through their unique brand, leadership, or deal-making niche. Introverts multiply, leveraging effectively where they are most comfortable, in the background. Extroverts magnify, leveraging effectively where they are most comfortable, out in front. How to find a billionaire. The front page of a 2005 issue of Business Week entitled "Googling for Gold" declared that the internet company, Google, has created 5 billionaires and over 1,000 millionaires. This reinforces a fundamental truth: if you want to find a billionaire, just look for a large group of millionaires, and the billionaire will be the one in the middle. Every great river is surrounded by tributaries. When a new source of value or a new form of leverage is found, it soon becomes clear that the wealthy do not become wealthy by making others poor. They become wealthy by making others wealthy. This is possible because one person's value becomes another person's leverage. Those playing the game understand this intuitively. For example, the people with the best products will look for the people with the best systems, and vice versa. Bill Gates sells more software by leveraging on Michael Dell's PCs, and Michael Dell sells more PCs by leveraging on Bill Gates' software. J.K. Rowling sells more Harry Potter books by leveraging on Jeff Bezos' Amazon.com, and Jeff Bezos gets more customers by leveraging on J.K. Rowling's books. In fact, the value in Amazon.com's system allows all publishers to leverage more effectively. The value of Microsoft software is that it allows all PC manufacturers to leverage more effectively. For each of us, our greatest value is someone else's greatest leverage. In the following chapter, we investigate the 8 wealth profiles, and how each plays a different game based on the way they naturally create value and leverage.
Chapter 4. The 8 Wealth Profiles. The men who have succeeded are men who have chosen one line and stuck to it. Andrew Carnegie. Parallel universes. Many explanations have been given for why some of us acquire great wealth while some of us do not. Many have taken certain explanations as persuasive enough evidence to give up trying. We say, well, he was born into the money, she has talent and charisma that I just don't have, he's obviously a great leader and I'm not. Our greatest excuse for not taking action today is that we believe we don't have what it takes to make it tomorrow. Let's imagine a parallel universe where some of today's most successful wealth creators ended up taking different approaches when they got started. What would have happened if Bill Gates had opted for a career as a footballer? Would Oprah Winfrey have made millions as a commodities trader? Could Martha Stewart have made it as a stock market trader? Actually, we'll come back to that one later. Could Warren Buffett have made it big on MTV? Warren Buffett says that in the 1950s he invested $100 in a Dale Carnegie public speaking course, not to prevent my knees from knocking when public speaking but to do public speaking while my knees are knocking. The Wealth Profile Square. The Wealth Profile Square gives us the relationship between the 8 wealth profiles. If you are highest in intuitive thinking, you will float up to one of the high-frequency profiles, mechanic, creator, or star. If you are strongest in sensory thinking, you will gravitate to one of the low-frequency profiles, accumulator, trader, or dealmaker. If any of these wealth creators had not followed their path of least resistance to wealth, we would not have heard of them today. Each of us has a path based on our natural habits and talents, the ones we were born with. When we follow our path, and only when we follow our path, do we give ourselves the opportunity to achieve our true potential. Your path will be one of the 8 on the following square. Introverts gravitate to the left, mechanic, lord, or accumulator, and extroverts gravitate to the right, star, supporter, or dealmaker. Each wealth creator has an absolute focus on creating wealth in the way that suits their natural strengths. Can we play more than one game? Of course, but it is only by keeping to one game that we begin to excel. The longer we play, the more distinctions we see, the greater our flow and the more we attract. Here's how the profiles differ. The creator. Creating a better product. Creators can't resist creating. They keep creating long after they have run out of resources, money, and other people's patience. In fact, they have their greatest creative breakthroughs after most others would have given up. Before Walt Disney's first animated movie was finished, his distributor went bankrupt. Before his second movie was finished, he ran out of money himself. To produce the now famous Steamboat Willie, featuring Mickey Mouse in 1927, strapped for cash, he wrote to his brother Roy, "Slap a big mortgage on everything we got and let's go after this thing in the right manner." Many creators do not make the best managers as they run faster than their teams and are often on to the next venture before they have made money from the last one. The world is also full of frustrated creators who have started a business and are now stuck running it. They did a great job creating it, but now do a mediocre job trying to manage others, often blaming their team for not keeping up. They move at speed but can leave a big wake behind them. Many creators fail because of their over-optimism as to what their business and their team can achieve. This optimism has led many to take on far too much, leaving them little time to do what they do best. Successful creators have delegated everything except the creative process itself, and they focus on creating new products or new companies, while others take care of the day-to-day business. The successful creators we will look at, who share a common strategy to achieve their successes, include Thomas Edison, Walt Disney, Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, and Richard Branson.
The star. Creating a unique brand. The creators set the stage, and the stars steal the show. Stars get their most valuable feedback in the limelight and find their flow while on their feet. As a result, they are able to evolve their attraction on the fly, and it is their personal magnetism that is their greatest value. As innovators, stars have an inner confidence that drives them to step up and take the lead. However, others sometimes see this as overconfidence. Reflecting on his outlook, Arnold Schwarzenegger comments, "I knew I was a winner back in the late 60s. I knew I was destined for great things. People will say that kind of thinking is totally immodest. I agree. Modesty is not a word that applies to me in any way. I hope it never will." A star profile should not be confused with sports stars or rock stars, who tend to get to their position largely on talent. There are star profiles in industries ranging from property and media to hospitality, who have ended up far wealthier than the most talented entertainers by following the star profile strategy. There are also many extremely talented entertainers who have ended up flat broke. Stars are naturals at creating a unique identity for themselves. It is their personal brand that attracts others. By magnifying their brand, they quickly magnify their attraction. Failed stars do not realize this and have been attempting to build their wealth by improving their products, their systems, or their teams, none of which come as naturally. Stars also get frustrated that others cannot do what they can do, and so make poor managers without the right deputies. Successful stars are happy to leverage on the products and platform of others in order to perform their magic. They lead from the front with their name shining in lights, while others count the receipts. The successful stars we will look at, who share the same winning and losing formulas in their path to success, include Oprah Winfrey, Martha Stewart, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Paul Newman, and India's #1 superstar, Amitabh Bachchan. The supporter, leading the team. While stars are busy shining, supporters are busy lighting up others. Supporters are the strongest leaders, as they can translate value into action through people. As Jack Welch says, "Information moves so fast today, and everyone has more information than the CEO does. So the only role of the CEO is to be out there energizing people and turning this information into action." The high-frequency innovators, such as the creators and stars, run at such speeds that their teams often lose confidence in their own ability to execute. Deal makers, traders, and accumulators can intimidate just as easily when they get into their zone. Supporters are masters at energizing teams by giving them the confidence they need to succeed. Quoting Welch again, "Giving people self-confidence is by far the most important thing that I can do, because then they will act." Supporters supply the glue without which great plans would crumble. Many supporters struggle to find the right business to start, despite their fabulous network. This is because they are asking themselves what business they should start, when they should be asking themselves which value creator they should support. Rather than asking what, they should ask who. Successful supporters continue to play the game with the same value creator, building a culture of effective execution. Steve Ballmer has led Microsoft, giving Bill Gates the space to create, and his shares in Bill's company now give him a net worth of over $13 billion. Some of the most successful supporters can also be found in their own businesses, such as in public relations, headhunting, and consulting, where others will pay big bucks for access to the people they know. Where others would take months to find the right person, it often takes supporters just one phone call. Notable supporters that we will look at include Jack Welch, Michael Eisner, Steve Case, and Meg Whitman. The deal maker, bringing people together. Like stars and supporters, deal makers leverage by magnifying out in front. While stars are high in the sky, however, deal makers have their ear to the ground. Creating value through timing, not innovation, a deal maker lives in the present. As Donald Trump said, "I try to learn from the past, but I plan for the future by focusing exclusively on the present." That's where the fun is. Successful deal makers tend to catch the imagination of the business world, with their sweeping gestures that make millions in a moment. Of all the profiles, the deal makers rely most on the relationships around them. While a star's value grows as they become less accessible, a deal maker's value grows as they become more accessible. They are constantly on the phone and on the move. They create their wealth by spotting connections in the market. Once the deal is done, the new value created enriches everyone involved. While intuitive thinkers shape their surroundings to suit them, sensory thinkers will shape themselves to their surroundings, letting others do the talking. They will recognize that often the best thing to do is to do nothing. Trump's advice in deal making: If you walk into a negotiation and you know nothing about the other party, let them talk. Listen to their tone. Observe their body language. The best negotiators are chameleons. Their attitude, demeanor, approach, and posture in a negotiation will depend on the person on the other side of the table. Struggling deal makers are often stuck trying to start a business or caught up in detail, as the idea of wheeling and dealing, whining and dining, just sounds like too much fun. Others lose out by making connections without taking their share, or lose focus by failing to establish a niche to operate within. Whether it is David Geffen in Hollywood, Donald Trump in New York real estate, or Rupert Murdoch in media, every successful deal maker has picked a niche from which to attract the best deals in their market.
The trader. Buying low, selling high. Traders are masters of timing, but, unlike deal makers who make their money by bringing assets and resources together, traders will buy and sell the assets and make their money from the spread. Extrovert traders will do this where they can influence the price through hard bargaining. Introvert traders prefer to trade through analysis rather than face-to-face bidding, and include many of today's successful market traders. As a result of the popularity of online and retail trading, many people try their luck as market traders. Unfortunately, most are not, which results in them losing more often than they gain. True traders have been trading all their life. They love finding the margins in market value, and so it comes naturally, whether getting a bargain at the flea market or making $1 billion on the currency markets. While creators need to immerse themselves to create their wealth, traders need to detach themselves. If markets were symphonies, the creators are the composers while the traders are the conductors. They naturally detach, enabling them to remain grounded while others might be losing their heads. Value comes from waiting for and surfing the right wave while others get caught in the current. When asked if he went with the herd or against it, George Soros replied, "I am very cautious about going against the herd. I am liable to be trampled on." The trend is your friend most of the way. Trend followers only get hurt at inflection points, where the trend changes. Most of the time I am a trend follower, but all the time I am aware that I am a member of a herd and I am on the lookout for inflection points. Many failed traders have never taken control of the trade. As reliable and hardworking employees, they may see either the buy side or the sell side of a transaction within the company they work for, but often never the two together. Only when they are in control of both sides will traders become aware of the natural talent that they have. The trader stories in this book include George Soros, Peter Lynch, John Templeton, and Jim Rogers. The deal makers we will cover include Donald Trump, David Geffen, Masayoshi Son, Henry Kravis, and Rupert Murdoch. The accumulator. Collecting appreciating assets. While traders create wealth by accelerating money flow, accumulators create wealth by decelerating it. Rather than making money by buying and selling off waves, they make money by buying and holding on rising tides. Accumulators always prepare, and the most successful ones can be found doing their homework. As Warren Buffett said in an annual report, Noah did not start building the ark when it was raining. Steady and dependable, if the profiles were compared to a football team, the stars would be the strikers while the accumulators would be the keepers. While stars are quick to spend, accumulators are quick to save. Accumulators often fail as a result of keeping too much to themselves, rather than building the advocates who will network on their behalf. They rarely act on impulse and fail if they have not set the criteria to take action. Often accused of procrastinating, they simply need more data to make an informed decision. When Buffett appeared on the TV program, Money World, he was asked what investment advice he would give a money manager starting out. "I'd tell him to do exactly what I did 40-odd years ago, which is to learn about every company in the United States that has publicly traded securities." Moderator Adam Smith said, "But there are 27,000 public companies." Buffett replied, "Well, start with the A's." Once accumulators connect to the right team, they can quickly be lifted while keeping the team grounded. They ensure that everything is in order and that what needs to get done gets done on time. Successful accumulators are happy to remain down to earth, holding the kite strings while others fly high. The successful accumulators we will cover include Warren Buffett, his mentor Benjamin Graham, Sandy Weil, Hong Kong's richest man, Li Ka-shing, and Microsoft co-founder, Paul Allen.
The Lord. Controlling cash-generating assets. Lords love the detail and are renowned for their thrift. One of the world's most successful lords, John D. Rockefeller, said when reflecting on his life, "How will I remember the words of my mother, willful waste makes woeful want." Lords can squeeze out the cash flow from assets without needing to own the assets. Rockefeller became a billionaire in the oil industry without needing to own a single oil well. Middle has become a billionaire in the steel industry without needing to own a single mine. Whether commodity lords or landlords, they have the patience and diligence to collect and crank up every cent of cash flow they find. While extrovert supporters value people over numbers, introvert lords value numbers over people and don't have time for politics or niceties. They would rather deal with simple legwork than fancy footwork. When Rockefeller began buying up other refiners in the 1800s, he did not wine and dine them, but instead said simply, "If you refuse to sell, it will end in your being crushed." And as he knew his numbers, he was right. Lords love certainty and hate risk. They also prefer to keep to themselves, and those who have not yet found their wealth have often failed to see their analytical skills, risk aversion, and need for control as their greatest strengths. When momentum grows, many lords also cannot resist their tendency to micromanage, which cash flow responds well to but which people do not. Successful lords are unrelenting once they find their niche, with the ability to consistently generate cash flow without the need for either innovation or timing, weathering market conditions and acquiring the competition until they are dominating entire industries. The mechanic. Creating a better system. If creators need to have their head in the clouds, then mechanics need to have their finger in the pie. While creators are great at starting things, mechanics are great at finishing things. They are perfectionists, which is why they cannot resist finding ways to do things better. One of Henry Ford's maxims was, "Everything can always be done better than it is being done." While stars twinkle, mechanics tinker. They get hands-on with their systems and prefer to study how to improve things with their hands dirty. As a result, they have little interest in impressing with or indulging in their appearance. Bernard Marcus, chairman and co-founder of Home Depot, recalled going out to lunch with Sam Walton, founder of Walmart, who became the richest man in the world in the 1980s. "I hopped into Sam's red pickup truck. No air conditioning. Seats stained by coffee. And by the time I got to the restaurant, my shirt was soaked through and through." And that was Sam Walton, no airs, no pomposity. Many mechanics have yet to get going because they are still trying to figure out what business to start. Ray Kroc was 52 before he realized he didn't need to start his own business. He could take an existing business, McDonald's, and make it better. Many mechanics have companies with better systems than their competitors, but they have not leveraged these systems with stronger products produced by others, or their business is limited by their autocratic management style and high staff turnover. Successful mechanics remain hands-on, fine-tuning their systems long after they have delegated many other areas of their business. This is where they see the greatest results, and where they gain the most satisfaction. The successful mechanics whose stories we relate include Henry Ford, Ray Kroc, Sam Walton, IKEA founder Ingvar Kamprad, and Michael Dell. The lords we look at include Andrew Carnegie, John D. Rockefeller, Jean-Paul Getty, England's richest man, Lakshmi Mittal, and Google co-founder Sergey Brin.
The 6 Steps to Wealth. The 8 profiles each follow a common 6-step strategy, establishing their value, leveraging that value, and creating a river of wealth. As we cover each profile in the following chapters, we see them repeating the same 6 steps, applying them in a way unique to their profile. Compare these steps to your own history. 1. Build your wealth foundation. The first step, before carving the river, is to build the mountain. Your wealth foundation is your location, understanding, connections, and knowledge of the game you are playing. Every one of us, no matter what our level of education, intelligence, talent, or inheritance, can build our network and knowledge to begin attracting great opportunities daily. 2. Maximize your moment of wealth creation. Each profile has a different high-value activity that creates the greatest value or leverage. For example, the creators who build the teams to allow them to spend their days innovating end up carving their rivers fast. The deal makers who build the teams to allow them to spend their days out at lunch and on the phone sniffing out the next big deal carve their own rivers equally fast. For many of us, we are investing less than 10% of our time on our moment of wealth creation. When we increase this to more than 50%, our attraction and flow multiplies dramatically. 3. Create value. As the first part of the wealth formula, you need to be very specific on the value differential that you are creating. If a star begins to focus on how to improve the system, instead of leaving a mechanic to do that as she builds her brand, or if a trader begins to focus on marketing his next fund, instead of leaving a deal maker to do that as he continues to focus at the market trends, the gradient of the river falls, and we take ourselves out of our flow. 4. Ensure ownership of your value. Every wealth profile has a different value they create, and different ways to own it. The balance of ownership is essential. Too restrictive in ownership, and no one will want to leverage your value. Too loose in ownership, and you will lose the value to others. The world is full of entrepreneurs who impatiently began leveraging their value before they had ownership over it, and today their raging river is owned by someone else. 5. Leverage your value. The value of other wealth profiles is your leverage, and your value is their leverage. Value creates the gradient of your river and dictates the speed of money flow. Leverage creates the width of your river and dictates the volume of money flow at that speed. Understanding the mechanisms that exist to leverage will transform the effective value that you can create. 6. Secure your cash flow. The biggest downfall of many entrepreneurs, once they have carved out a river, is that they wait far too long to turn on the tap. For many unsuccessful entrepreneurs, everything that comes out of the river gets recycled back in, until the river dries out and the entrepreneur is left with nothing. The entrepreneurs covered in this book have secured their cash flow so that in good times and bad, their river continues to flow. Every profile has a different way to extract cash from their river on an ongoing basis.
The 5 frequencies. Our primary profile is the game we play when we are in our flow. Each of us has a primary profile based on the balance of our frequencies. We were all born with a different mix of 5 frequencies, first identified in the Chinese Book of Changes, the I Ching. Through a 5,000-year path explored in Chapter 14, these frequencies have become the basis of modern psychometric tests, as well as the basis of Chinese disciplines such as Chinese medicine, martial arts, and feng shui. We will come back to the peak frequency, water, later in the book. The other 4 base frequencies form the 4 sides of the wealth dynamic square. Each of these 4 frequencies is a state of change, like the 4 seasons. When you take the wealth dynamics profiling test, you identify how much of each frequency you hold. The balance determines which of the 8 games you play most naturally, the one that creates the greatest resonance and harmony with your natural frequencies. The more time we invest in harmony with our strongest frequency, the sooner we get into our flow. Here are the 4 base frequencies. 1. Frequency, dynamo. Season, spring. Element, wood. Flow, innovating. 2. Frequency, blaze. Season, summer. Element, fire. Flow, energizing. 3. Frequency, tempo. Season, autumn. Element, earth. Flow, connecting. 4. Frequency, steel. Season, winter. Element, metal. Flow, analyzing. The 5 frequencies form a cycle that begins and ends at water. Every project, business, industry, country goes through these frequencies as they cycle from creation to completion to creation again. You are currently going through this natural cycle with each relationship you have and each journey you embark on. Our effectiveness changes as we resonate with our environment, and also as we resonate with our time. Even in the right environment, as time changes we can lose our flow. Our winning formula can become a losing formula. Great entrepreneurs recognize this, and so will move industries and even countries to stay in the flow. The value of time.
It has been my observation that most people get ahead during the time that others waste. Henry Ford. Each of the next 8 chapters focuses on a different wealth profile, with the stories of 40 well-known wealth creators. As you read these stories, you might ask yourself what has been stopping you from taking the same bold actions that many of these individuals have taken. It usually comes down to one of 3 reasons: not enough money, not enough knowledge, or not enough support. These all come down to the same thing: the illusion of limited resource. As we see wealth creators build the network and connections around their game, we see that their network shows limited resource for what it is: an illusion. With the right networks, they are not limited by money, as they know the financiers with the money. They are not limited by knowledge, because they seek out the mentors with the knowledge. They are not limited by support, as they have connections to the people and teams ready to support. Without exception, none of them started with money, knowledge, or support. But they did start with their time. The same 24 hours a day that you and I wake up with. While we realize that the notion of limited resource is an illusion as we grow our wealth, there is one resource that really is limited, and that is our time. The one thing that each of these wealth creators puts at a premium is the value of their time. That is why they never wasted doing the wrong thing. When Edison was asked if he ever lost patience when inventing, he said, "The thing I lose patience with the most is the clock. Its hands move too fast." As you read through the next 8 chapters, featuring the stories of entrepreneurs who found their flow, keep in mind that the wealthy got wealthy not by investing their money, but by investing their time. The sooner we value our time, the sooner we begin to invest it wisely.